outdoors that may have been canceled, though, in this particular weather, from the Nillis Law Firm studio and broadcasting, of course, on the mighty 790 KFGO and 104.7 FM. And, of course, on YouTube Live, Scott Taylor and myself, every Thursday night, we get to do this fun and frivolity. Wishing you all safe travels, wishing you all a Merry Christmas and the best of the holiday season. Also realizing, again, just to update, I-94 from Jamestown to Montana is closed. I-29 from the South Dakota border to Sioux Falls closes at 6 p.m. And a blizzard from 9 p.m. till 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Eric, how many blizzards has this been now to this point in the very short winter season?
I think conservatively you can say 3.
At least 3.
Yeah, okay. I think that you can say 3 conservatively.
Well, and we'll open the gate and say, "Hi, Scott Taylor, how you doing?"
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Our mutual friend Eric Burton just tweeted, "If you've ever said, 'I'll do that when hell freezes over,' you are scheduled to do that tomorrow."
Yeah, have you looked at the map of North America, all the warnings?
Oh, it's crazy.
There's only one warm place, and that's in Miami. It's 80 degrees right now. But Western Canada is all blue, and it's extreme cold snap warning. They're talking about 45 to 55 below Celsius, which is basically 55 below Fahrenheit, because at that point they match up. It's brisk out there.
No, it's colder. They match up at minus 40.
Oh, okay.
Minus 55 is colder. It's wow. It's frighteningly cold. There's too much snow. There are no airplanes moving. I mean, 5,900 cancellations today throughout North America, and that's an estimate. I bet that's up since 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. So it's nuts out there. Don't go.
It really
out.
is.
And
don't go out.
When I say don't go out, you can't anyway, because they won't let you drive on the road.
No, that's true too. But we're here to lift people up. So we appreciate the sponsors of this show: Nillis Law Firm, the Golf Center, Ralph Engelstead Arena, the Sioux Shop in Ralph Engelstead, Dave Noah, Remax Legacy Realty, Jarrell's Hockey World, and of course Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. We do this each and every Thursday. Make sure to stay tuned, by the way, after Jacksonville versus the New York Jets. Is that in New York or is that in Jacksonville?
I believe that one's in New York.
It's in New York. Okay, so it's not super cold there, but it'd be better if they're in Jacksonville. But that being said, make sure to stay tuned. The text club number is 35270. So Scott, one thing I'm going to start with here before when we do our segments, we have a couple of very good guests coming. If you've ever heard of Tim Madigan, and you and I both have talked to him before, he was a UND graduate. He covered UND hockey for the Dakota Student when I played all those years ago, moved to Dallas, went into the newspaper business just like you. Wrote a book on Mr. Rogers after covering him for a number of years, a number of other very good books, by the way. We're going to talk about the importance of sports today and how that lifts us up on days like today. That's just a good feel-good story to get going with, isn't it, Scott?
Well, it's Christmas time. Let's talk about feel-good stories. We've got 2 feel-good stories today. Tim Madigan, yes. We're going to talk to him about the value of sport. And number 2, we have Nick Mikan back.
Yep.
We had Nick Mikan on the show talking about the fact that he had come out of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis area after a high school career. He didn't get a scholarship to a D1 school. He decided to play for Paul Dick, the head coach of the Steinbach Pistons, in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, to play an extra year of junior to see if he could get the scholarship. And this week he had a big announcement. We're going to talk to him about that tonight.
And if you hear the name Mikan, his great-grandfather was George Mikan, one of the all-time best NBA basketball players ever and a legend in Minneapolis. So this young man, I remember I asked the question what his size today, 6'3", 205. And he says the doctors expect him to be 6'4", about 235 when he actually, quote unquote, matures. So that'll be interesting to see where he goes in NHL draft. He's going to be a project, but pretty exciting times for them, for him to announce where he's going to be going. And playing not too far from home out of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Also, I got a press release that came out. A Native American Minnesota hockey legend is returning to his hometown to be part of a documentary. Henry Boucher, who you're very familiar with, a former player for the North Stars and the Fighting Saints, is partnering with Twin Cities Pub PBS to create a documentary about his life and his time in the National Hockey League. It'll be in Warroad, and they're going to be celebrating him on December 29th at the Warroad Garden. There's a tournament going on. Film crew will be there, so if you want to be on TV and get to be part of a documentary, go to the community center and the big hockey rink there, the Warroad Gardens, and participate. But Henry Boucher, tell us your interactions with him.
Well, I didn't have a lot. I interviewed him once years ago. he was one of the great Indigenous players from North America to play in the National Hockey League. I wouldn't say one of the first, but one of the few at his time, and a great grinding. You wouldn't call him a fighter. You wouldn't call him a goal scorer like Mike Bossy, but he was one of those guys who you had to have on your team. A great third liner, great second liner, a good mover of the puck, great playmaker, could score if he had the opportunity. And certainly if he played in the National Hockey League, he wasn't afraid. And Henry Boucher was one of those guys that a lot of people have forgotten, but he really was a unique player, a unique character, and one of the few great Indigenous players to play in the NHL.
And you talk about the the growth in the Indigenous community of the game of hockey. And you had mentioned to me, I was telling you that I can make this announcement now. Of course, I'll be doing some Midco color for high school hockey, the outdoor games in West Fargo next week. And, you mentioned there's the Indigenous National Championship being played in Winnipeg next May.
Yeah, it's one of the best U18 AAA tournaments in the country. It's been everywhere, and there's the scouts loaded up like they would any high school tournament at the University of Minnesota, for instance. It's 16 teams, 8 female, 8 male. These are top players from across Canada, and it's called the National Aboriginal Hockey Championship. And it's the first time in Winnipeg now in about 13 years. So it's the first time to come back. And if the stars are right, you and I will be doing play-by-play and color for a few of those games. So it'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
It's a great tournament. It's May 6th to 13th. It'll be at the 7 Oaks Sportsplex here in Winnipeg. And the quality of play is out of this world. The speed is phenomenal. People that go will enjoy every minute. It's great hockey. And there will be NHL and college scouts all over the building, so it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, and then we had an opportunity, of course, last season or earlier this year to talk to Zach. Well, not this season, but you know what I mean. Last year, before summer came, we had Zach Whitecloud, who plays for the Las Vegas Golden Knights, a member of that community.
Yes, absolutely. He's from Sioux Valley, Dakota Nation, south of Brandon, right near the border of Manitoba and North Dakota. A tremendous athlete, an outstanding story where he went to Bemidji State out of Verdun, ended up being a power play and penalty kill player in his first year playing for Tom. Played 2 years there and signed his contract. Went to Chicago, led the Wolves to a Calder Cup. Was just he had the best plus minus in the American Hockey League 6 years ago, and now he plays 18 to 22 minutes a night with the Vegas Golden Knights. But yes, he was a player in that tournament. So that's the type of players you're going to see when you watch that event. Brady Keeper, who's playing in the American Hockey League, who signed with Florida and now with Vancouver, played in that tournament. I think it started a little after Jordan Tutu's time. But the number of tremendous players who have played in that tournament from across Canada, it's a great list, and I'll get it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, by the way, you're listening to Game On Hockey on a beautiful Thursday night in Fargo, North Dakota, wherever you're going or however you're getting there and listening to the radio. Keep it tuned to KFJO for all the updates. I think we're going to have a Tom Szymanski update. We usually don't do weather in this show, Scott, but I think it's important after 6 p.m. to have Tom do an update on what's going on, make sure people get safely to where they're going and or just safely stay home. Hope they make the right decision. We talk about this. We talk about the most wonderful time of the year, and we know this is wonderful. Christmas, happy spirits, all the rest of those things going on in our world. But you know what? The most wonderful time of the year to us, I think it's called the World Junior Hockey Tournament, which is about to begin.
Yeah, it should be very, very interesting tournament. I've spent most of my day looking at the lineup of the Spengler Cup. Now, do you know the Spengler Cup?
I do, absolutely.
Spengler Cup, the IIHF's annual Team Canada of all the Canadian players that are playing in Europe. And this year, a number of Manitobans in the event. Josh Brook from Roblin. Cody Eakin. Do you remember Cody Eakin? He played.
I remember. Yeah. I played against his dad.
Yeah, you would have played against Butchie.
Yep.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, Cody Eakin's playing in the tournament this year. Quentin Howden just signed a contract over there, may play in the Spengler. It's a tremendous tournament. It's a tournament I really enjoy every year, and it's the top club players from all over Europe, and that will be televised across Canada as well. You can probably get it in various services in the United States. But the World Junior Hockey Championship, It wasn't much in 1982 and 81 when I first went down to cover it in Rochester, Minnesota. There were games in Winnipeg. The year that Troy Murray made the hit heard around the world, one of the greatest hits I ever saw in hockey, and one of those hits that it rattles around the arena when there's a full house in the building, and out of the blue, a hockey team that didn't look like it was going to be in the tournament ends up winning the tournament because that's all it took. And Troy Murray was a remarkable player in that tournament. James Patrick was a tremendous player in that tournament. But all sorts of UND players who have done well. It's now become a tournament mostly of Canadian Hockey League players. There aren't as many college players as there used to be. But this year, there's 3 NHL players on loan to the Canadian team. And every team in the Western Conference of the National Hockey League has a player in the tournament, whether that player is playing for a European team, whether he's playing for the United States or playing for Canada. Every team in the Western Conference has a player in the event. Everybody thinks, as is usually the case, that Canada and the United States will be the teams to beat at the start, and then Finland and Sweden will play remarkably well, and the Czechs will upset somebody. The thing about this tournament is it's anybody's to win at the start, because what we have to understand is, as good as they are, this is still kids playing hockey. This is an under 20 tournament, and the hard work, the excitement, the skill, the conditioning all adds up together to be one of the fastest events you're going to see. It is great hockey. I think it's televised on the NHL network in the States. I think you're going to see a lot of the US games. In Canada, of course, all of Canada's games, all the games are on in Canada because it's from the East Coast. So it's just one of the most exciting tournaments there is on the schedule every year. And I remember that first year I went down, we took a drive from Minneapolis, our hotel in Minneapolis, out to Rochester for the championship game. And it was a cold January night. And it was Canada and at that time, Czechoslovakia. And the big star in the tournament was Ruzicka from Czechoslovakia. And Canada and the Czechs played to a 2-2 tie in that little rink in Rochester. Now, I don't even know if it's still there now, 40 years later. But the press box-ish thing was at the one end. So you sat at the end and you watched the rink from the back end. It was a different experience, but a wonderful night, a tremendous hockey game as they all are, and the 2-2 tie. There was no playoffs in those days. It was just a straight round robin. And with the 2-2 tie, Canada won the event. This year, it will be as exciting as it ever has been. And with more and more NHL players on loan to these junior teams, you're going to see some of the greatest players of the future of the National Hockey League this Christmas holiday.
And it's something to look forward to. Dave Starman was to join us tonight, but he's traveling to the north to get to where his destination is to cover that tournament. So unfortunately, he couldn't join us. So hopefully we'll have him at some point before the tournament ends. But it's a jam-packed 2-week tournament. And one UND guy participating, his name is Jackson Blake. Jason Blake's son made the roster, so scored a nifty goal in the preliminary warm-up game. So we'll see if he can carry that over as well. But you know what? It is hockey time of the year in the REA, Ralph Engelstad Arena, that is, and the Sioux Shop. You need to stop by there. But also remember, the U.S. under-18 team plays on New Year's Eve. I'll be there to call the game with Tim Hennessy on the Home of Economy Radio Network, of which KFJO is part of it. $10 Upper Bowl tickets for US 18 and Lindenwood series. Go to theralph.com/Coke for all the details. Tickets can be purchased at the RAA box office and, of course, theralph.com/Coke. So $10 is a pretty good deal, Scott. Also, while you're there, you can get all sorts of great stuff at the Sioux Shop in there. And if you can't make it, you can also go online, thesiouxshop.com. Get ready for the second half of the season in style. Gift cards are still available for those that you might have missed at Christmas. And of course, coming up, one more shift with Matt Green, who won a Stanley Cup. He's going to be doing his one more shift at UND in the month of January. The t-shirts are available at the Sioux Shop and thesiouxshop.com. So lots going on at the REA. Make sure to participate if you can. There's lots of good hockey to be seen. In January, UND is home 3 weekends in a row after the 31st. Well, what we'll do is this. We'll take a quick break, Scott. Our good friend Tim Madigan will be on board here shortly, and we'll carry on the conversation. The importance of sports, how it gets us through these long winters. Oh, and Game On magazine, the latest edition, We'll talk about that when we come back after the break before we bring Tim Madigan on. Well, thanks for that reminder, Scott. You are listening to Around the Rink. You're listening to Game on Hockey on the Mighty 7. I knew I'd slip up. On the Mighty 790 KFJ. I'm Travis Dunn. He's Scott Taylor. Hang around, get a cup of coffee, get something warm, come back and listen to that radio on the Mighty 790 KFGO.
You're clear, Scott.
All right. Being clear is a good thing.
I always appreciate a heads up when I'm on the other end to just make sure I don't do anything silly while I'm still on the air.
In Fargo, North Dakota. The Nillis Law Firm Studio is what we call it. This is Game on Hockey with Scott Taylor and Travis Dunn. And by the way, the Nillis Law Firm was established in the early 1900s. The Nillis Law Firm provides legal services in more than 10 areas of practice, including business and corporate law, estate planning, wills and trusts, probate, commercial litigation, adoption services, as well as real estate. A division of Nillis Law Firm is Northern Title, which provides complete closing and escrow services along with title insurance policies for all types of real estate transactions in North Dakota and Minnesota. So call Nillis Law Firm at 701-237-5544 or look them up on the World Wide Web at nillislaw.com, and they wish you the best of the holiday season as well. But with that, one quick thing before we get to Tim. Scott, you have a new magazine, the new Game On magazine that just was published and it's online. Tell us how we can see it.
Smells so good. Brand spanking new, right off the press. 100
Shifley on the front page.
Of the best in hockey. Mark Shifley's our interview, and there's a young man who'll be with us today, Nick Mikan.
There you go.
Just did a tremendous job getting that great news from a certain university around the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. We'll talk about that when he joins us. But yeah, brand new. It's on the racks. It's at the Jets gear stores. It's at the Iceplex here, which is now the Hockey for All Center, of course. The Sportsplex, where we're going to be doing the National Aboriginal Hockey Championship in Canada in May. And Joe Daly's, our good old friend Joe Daly. You remember Joe when he played in the National Hockey League. And, of course, the rink, which is the place.
And GameOn.ca if you're looking to read it online as well.
Yeah. GameOnHockey.ca. Right. Yep.
Well, and we open up the gate, let our next guest in. He's somewhere a little bit warmer, but not much warmer. I hear it snowed in Dallas, Texas today. If Tim is still there, Tim, greetings and welcome back to the show.
I'm still here. It's 19 degrees outside, and I've got some feedback.
Yeah, you have some major feedback going on there. Maybe What do you want to do here? Want to jump off and come back on again? Maybe that will help. Yeah, do that, Tim. If you do that, if you jump off and then re-sign back in, maybe that'll get rid of that reverb. And Scott and I'll visit along here. Then we'll let you back in again. Okay, cool. You know, whoa, there are bugs out there on this winter night. By the way, you're listening to Game on Hockey on the Mighty 790 KFJO and 104.7 FM. And Scott, it's cold out there and things don't work all the time the way we'd like them to.
They don't, but it's Christmas time. And you know what that means?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
You know what that means?
Yeah.
Jarrell's Hockey World is the place for everything you need to make Christmas perfect for your favorite hockey player or fan. This is the time of year. Jarrell's has knit beanies, Bauer mystery mini sticks, any mini stick for that matter. Folks, Jarrell's has it all. The best hockey sticks in the game, all of the best protective equipment bags, even nets for road hockey or the backyard rink. And Jarrell's has Bauer and CCM clothing, plus everything you will need to fill those stockings. Skate guards, laces, tape, wax, pucks, even stick handling balls. But hey, if you can't think of one item your hockey lover would love, pick up a gift card and let her decide what she'd love from Jarrell's. In business for 50 years and the 2021 U.S. Bauer Retailer of the Year right here in our backyard, Jarrell's Hockey World, 1004 South Washington Street in beautiful Grand Forks, North Dakota. And I bet it's beautiful tonight.
You know what? We're hardy people up in this direction, aren't we? And little weather doesn't keep us down. And we know a little Zoom issue doesn't keep us down either. So now Tim Madigan, I see his picture on there again. So Tim, have you been able to join us again?
Well, I can hear you just fine. How's this?
Perfect. You are absolutely perfect.
Good.
Absolutely perfect. So I'm gonna let Scott go first. Go ahead, Scott.
The video is even better. It's you look younger.
I switched from my laptop to my phone, so I guess that tells you my laptop's a piece of you know what.
It looks great. Hey, what have you been doing? How's Dallas? What's been going on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've just been doing what I always do. Travis might know this, but one of my books is going to be a play next year in Fort Worth, and I think it's going to travel pretty well. I wrote a book about my friendship with Fred Rogers, and we've adapted it for the stage, and that's probably the most important or the most exciting thing professionally for me. Otherwise, just trying to keep the lights on. It's 19 degrees here and 15 below wind chill, so I'm feeling a little homesick. Are you still up in Winnipeg?
I am. I think minus 35 at some point today. We had
that's beautiful.
The real temperature is about minus 20. Nice balmy late December day. Christmas is all.
Well, I know it. I mean, that's suntan weather up there. That kind of deal. But I feel bad I think a lot of people who are traveling for Christmas are having a hard time. I feel bad for them because that's all over the place. But it'll be 50 degrees here again on Monday, and it's all good.
Tell me more about the play. Is it going to be a traveling play? Is it going to play in Dallas? Is it going to play Broadway? What's the story?
Well, it's going to make its debut here in Fort Worth next fall. And but the early reviews of it and kind of the buzz, early buzz is that we're already getting inquiries from people in other parts of the country, and whether or not it ever ends up in New York, who knows? But I do think, Travis knows the book, and the book has helped a lot of people, and I think that the play is going to be pretty impactful too. I think it's a story of very kind of sometimes emotional story of my friendship with Fred and some of the things I was going through in my life when he kind of mentored me and befriended me. And so we've taken that, turned it into a play. And like I said, we're really excited about it.
Outstanding. It's a time of the year when people reflect on the way things have gone, certainly in the last year or so. It's also a time of year when sports gets pretty active. It's
right.
The professional sports especially, it is loaded up over the next couple of weeks. Everything from the regular Sunday, Christmas Day of the National Basketball Association to the World Junior Hockey Championship to the college football playoffs. It's all with us right now. And it's also a pretty wonderful way to forget about those things you want to forget about, because the great thing about sport is that it allows people to be passionate about something that doesn't matter.
Right.
And I think that's good for us in this day and age.
Well, the last time I was on with you guys, we kind of touched on this.
Yeah.
And we talked about how important sports are. And when I came out of college, I was a sports writer. And I love sports, and I shifted into news just because part of the reason why is because I didn't want sports to become a job. And the second reason is that back, it's still referred to, I guess, in some respects as the sports department was known as the toy department, as if it doesn't really matter. But as I've gotten older, especially in the last several years, I've come to realize that sports, I think, is one of the best things about our culture and about our civilization, frankly. When you think about what happened during the World Cup, how it galvanized the globe, and how all these countries were so passionate about their team. And of course, only one team ended up winning, and all these other millions and billions of people were disappointed. But you never heard about any violence, and it was just all part of the game. And one of the things that I think has been, for one thing, sports is great entertainment. I think it's the best entertainment out there, frankly. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. The athletes, especially in pro and college, are so talented. So it's great entertainment. But from a society perspective, and I think some of the business stuff surrounding professional sports and the NCAA are probably screwed up. But when you get between the lines or get on the ice, it's awesome. And, and there are rules. There's sportsmanship, there's tremendous and passionate competition, but there's sportsmanship at the end of it. The arbiters of those rules are respected, even if often you disagree with what their decisions are. I mean, there's a structure to it that I think that the rest of society could do well to emulate, frankly. And then the other part of it that's been really part of my life in the last month or so, in a very personal way, is that my brother Pat, who is 10 years younger than me, died after a long illness about a month ago. And he was, was an extraordinary guy, and it's really tragic loss, and we're all just grieving like crazy for him. But he was the captain of Providence College Friars hockey team in 1991. And I was assigned by the family to write the obituary. And one of the people I contacted was one of Pat's former teammates, a guy named, Canadian named Lyle Wildgoose. And, I asked him if I could interview him for this obituary, and he said, sure. But he said, there's been a bunch of messages flying back and forth about Pat since we heard the news. And would you mind if you talk to a few other people? And I said, no, of course not. So I organized a Zoom call, and I got on with a few guys about a day or two after Pat died, and one by one they were just torn up about the loss of my brother, because, like I said, he was a captain, he was a leader, he was a bright, funny guy. And y'all, on these Zoom calls, you can press a button and know how many people are on the call. Well, I pressed a button, and there were 19 guys on the call, and including the 75-year-old coach of this team. Now, this is 30 years ago. And these guys, like I said, these guys were completely ripped up. And I guess maybe the point is that when you go through that experience, and I know Travis will attest to this, when you're in the foxhole with a teammate, in that kind of an environment, when you suffer together and train together and travel together, I mean, the bonds that are formed then are unlike any other relationships that I've ever come across in life. And so I think that speaks to the power of sports too, especially team sports. And it doesn't have to be, Travis played in North Dakota, and I played some baseball in college, but you know, in the high school, the bonds between high school athletes are as enduring as anything. So I just think there's something profound and something wonderful that surrounding sports on so many different levels. And so I think that we would do well to, you know, celebrate what we have in our games and in our sports, because I think they're so very important.
You're listening to Game on Hockey on the mighty 790 KFJO and 104.7 FM on a beautiful, balmy Thursday night in Fargo, North Dakota. Wherever you're going, we hope you're getting there safely. By the way, the interstates are closed from Jamestown to the Montana border, and I-29 from South Dakota border to Sioux Falls is now closed as well. And we're under a blizzard watch from 9 p.m. this evening till 6 p.m. tomorrow night. So it's been a long stretch here, Mr. Madigan. But to tell everybody who Tim Madigan is, he covered UND hockey for the Dakota Student back when I played. We've been friends for many, many years. I was good friends with his brother Steve, unfortunately, who passed many years ago as well. That's all part of this thing called life, isn't it, my friend? But so we go back many, many years. And of course, he went to work in Dallas, Texas, and then wrote a book, became a friend with Mr. Rogers, wrote a book about Mr. Rogers, as well as some other books. Top 10, The Burning, right, is in the top 10 on the New York Times bestseller list. Is that still correct?
It made a brief appearance on the New York Times bestseller list. Yeah.
I have read the book, and it's compelling, sad, and all those things. I recommend everyone to read the book. So with that, we're talking sports, the importance of sports. You know, you're right, Tim. You know, I'm not a huge soccer fan, but I was engrossed in the soccer tournament last week, watching Mbappe and all these guys who I knew nothing about before, but compelling. And it sure took your mind off of thinking about things around your own life sometimes. And that's just the diversion of sports, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was, and I was the same way. I wouldn't know a soccer ball from a watermelon, but you know, especially when the U.S. was still involved in it, I watched just because, you know, I was going through an airport and you would hear all of a sudden this massive cheering, and then you knew why it was. It's because the U.S. had scored, and you know, what other kind of thing can bring people together like that? And I just think, I don't think there is.
I thought the most remarkable part of that whole event was Argentina won, the one team left standing. And as you mentioned, all those other countries are disappointed that their teams lost. But there seemed to be a general feeling around the world that Argentina's victory had brought Lionel Messi to the top of the sport, to be spoken of in future like Pele and Eusebio and all these remarkable athletes. And there was a feeling, I think, that yeah, I wish my country had won and not theirs. But there is kind of a worldwide respect for the brilliance of this one player, and that before he left the game, it was right that he won the championship. And that's something you won't get in politics. You won't get in anything else that's competitive. You will only get in sport.
Right. Yeah, that's really true. And people who rise to that level, you know, they transcend sports, I think. Because I think people have an appreciation for what's necessary to achieve what these people have achieved. You know, you go back to Michael Jordan and the greats, because people know kind of intuitively that yeah, they probably had, you know, unusual amount of talent and physical gifts, but what people like that put into their craft to achieve what they've achieved. And then, you know, if you add, I don't know much about Messi, but you know, if this athlete is a person who has some grace and dignity about them, that, you know, that people can really emulate and admire, that just makes it all the better. But you know, and to see the kind of more and more of the athletes that I admired growing up passing away, like the news about Franco Harris was just kind of blew me away. I mean, you think these people are going to live forever. And, you know, and so there is there's a special place in our culture and kind of the pantheon of the society for people who achieve, whether it's Wayne Gretzky or Michael Jordan or Dirk Nowitzki down here in Texas. It's just they just hold a special place, and I think rightfully so.
Well, if there's a Hall of Fame for journalists, I think you should be top of that list, Tim Madigan. Anybody going to UND to be in journalism should call Tim Madigan. He'll give you great guidance, and one of the all-stars of that program graduating from UND all those years ago. Tim, it's been great having you on board with us today. The conversation, I hope it lifts people's spirits. We're getting into that time of the year, right? It's Christmas, and we think back, we look forward. We hope this conversation helps you get through your day. And Tim, we'll look forward to having more conversations down the line, especially about the upcoming play that's about Mr. Rogers and your experiences with him. Merry Christmas to you. All the best in the new year. And we'll look
Same
forward
to
to
you
talking
guys.
again soon.
Always good to talk to you. Take care, Scott.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, you bet. Bye-bye.
Well, that's Tim Madigan. Yeah, a number of books out there. The Burning is one that I have read. It's about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and some things that happened that were very sad many years ago, but a great read, and highly recommend you jump on board and read that book as well. But you're on that list as well. Journalism, you've covered it all: hockey, baseball, basketball, football. Very much like Tim. The relationships you make is almost like a team, isn't it? You're part of that team in a certain way, aren't you?
Well, yeah, the difference between Tim and I is Tim writes national books and I write local. He gets on the New York Times bestseller list, and every now and again, mine will show up on the McNally Robinson Grant Park shopping center or bestseller list. That's the difference between Tim and I.
Yeah, that's true. What we'll do now is we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Nick Mikan will be joining us. A little announcement. Where is he going to play college hockey next year? The great grandson of George Mikan, the great Minneapolis St. Paul basketball player. You're listening to Game On Hockey. This is from the Nilles Law Firm studio, by the way. He's Scott Taylor. I'm Travis Dunn. We're on YouTube, by the way, so we can see each other. Go on there. You can see us. You can see how great we look with the Christmas tree in the background, all the decorations. And, well, Scott doesn't have any decorations up, but he will soon. I'm sure he will. But we'll take a quick break. You're listening to Game On Hockey from Nilles Law Firm studio, the Mighty 790 KFGO.
You're clear, Scott.
How are you?
You know you're the mastermind. Run, up too far.
Boy, I tell you what, he's running to stay warm. This is Game on Hockey from the mighty 790 KFGO. Fargo, North Dakota on a brisk night, and I imagine it's brisk in Steinbach, Manitoba as well. There's no heat wave anywhere that we can find it. But Scott, some great news from our friend Nick Mikan, who was on the show about a month ago, and I'll let you carry the conversation from here.
Well, if you go on GameOnHockey.ca,
Yep.
you have the story of Nick Mikan up until this week. And this week there was big news. Welcome, Nick. Welcome to the show, and tell us who you said yes to.
Said yes to St. Thomas.
Congratulations.
Rico Blasi.
That's great. Now tell us the offer. Tell us the what happened leading up. You came to Steinbach to play for the Pistons to get that extra year, see if that scholarship was out there. Obviously it was. Tell us what happened between the start of your season and your acceptance announcement this week.
Well, yeah, just coming up to Steinbach, I know that just the whole history of the team, I know I'm going to get good looks, especially with Coach Dick and stuff. And I had the second half of the first part of the season, I had a breakout after the MJHL showcase, and that really helped me with my commitment. And yeah, so after that MJHL showcase, that really helps players get exposed to colleges, and I had a confidence boost and just had a breakout second part of the season.
Well, Coach Rico Blasi, obviously on part of that recruiting trail, St. Thomas. When will you go to St. Thomas? Will next year be your freshman year?
No, I'll have to play another year of juniors.
One more year of juniors after that. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of time, but by then will they have a new rink in place? There's all sorts of plans for that. Obviously, it's a program on the grow, and it's sure good to be on the ground level of that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the rink will be done in 2025.
You told us during the break that St. Thomas was your number one choice.
Yeah.
You told your family advisor after St. Thomas made the offer, that's where you wanted to go. Tell us why. My guess is you probably live pretty close to the campus.
Yeah, well, I'm just a big Minnesota College fan for all the schools in Minnesota, but yeah, it's so close, and the campus is just amazing, and the academics there is just really good, and I think the team that will be built at that St. Thomas team is they'll be a top team every year to come in a little bit. So yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the growth of St. Thomas.
You talk about the year you're going to be playing another year junior. So currently your size is what? 6'3", 205?
Around 6'4", 6'5", 200 pounds, 205
okay.
pounds.
So in a year from now, what would you anticipate that size and weight to be?
Hopefully to gain another 10 to 15 pounds, and it probably grow maybe an inch or two.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you're going to add some size.
A power forward who'd be 6'6", 220.
Yeah, that's my goal.
Well, that's why they have to hold you back in junior, because they got to get you big enough to play at the college level.
Well, that's incredibly awesome news. We're really thrilled that you share it with us and our listening audience. Young man from Minneapolis, Minnesota, who went north of the border, found the opportunity, and now the opportunity has been presented him to play Division I college hockey at St. Thomas in the big city of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Appreciate you doing so with us, and we'll keep following you as you move along. We'll talk again next year, wherever you may be playing junior hockey. And of course, we'll look forward to following you at St. Thomas. Thanks for joining us tonight, Nick,
thanks,
and Merry Christmas to you and all.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, likewise.
Merry Christmas, Nick. Thanks.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Scott, we talk about it week in and week out. Opportunities, whether it be Pilot Mountain, whether it be Manitoba Junior, whether it be in North American Junior League, and so on. The opportunities that are out there, and the opportunity that's being presented because he went north of the border. Pretty impressive.
Well, and he made the right choice. There are a number of teams here that tend to do a better job promoting their players to U.S. colleges. There are 12 teams in this league, and there are some at the top of that list that do a better job promoting their players. Paul Dick, who played in Europe, he played pro, he knows everybody. Before COVID, he was the guy who brought his team down to UND every year when they had a Saturday night off, rare, but he'd found the time. And Brad Berry always, and Dave Haxtell always treated him very, very well. And he brought the team down, and they got a tour of the campus and a tour of the Ralph. And they stayed for the game with 10,000 people watching the Sioux and now the Hawks. And that kind of convinced his players that that's what they wanted. And so many more thought about the U.S. college route, that college hockey was the right way to go.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in the theory that if you play in the Western League or the Ontario League, you're learning to be a professional hockey player. And when people ask me what route should I go, I always say the same thing. If you're Cody Glass from Winnipeg, who's with the Nashville Predators, if you're Seth Jarvis, who's with the Carolina Hurricanes, if you're that good a hockey player, Jet Wu is now in the American League with Abbotsford. If you're that good a player, you have to go to the Western League, because they will train you to be a National Hockey League player, an American Hockey League. You're going to be a professional. You're going to be a pro hockey player. It doesn't matter about college or anything else. You're going to play pro hockey. But if you're a guy who is a second or third liner coming out of high school or U18 AAA, and there's no guarantee you're going to the NHL, your best bet is to try to get your game to the level that Nick Mikan got his game, where he can get an opportunity at St. Thomas University. And maybe by the time he gets there, he'll be 20 and 6'6", 230.
Gee, I know.
Maybe after 2 seasons there, he will sign that NHL contract. We talked about Zach Whitecloud. That's exactly what happened with Zach.
Yep.
Big, strong defenseman, not real fast, but lots of skills. He went to Bemidji, and they taught him how to be a great hockey player.
Yeah,
So
do
there
that.
are different routes. There are different ways to go. And we're going to talk to a guy who could offer all sorts of U.S. and Manitoba players that different offer, that different route.
And that route will be discussed after we take this quick break. On a Thursday night, you're listening to Game on Hockey on the Mighty 790 KFGO with Travis Dunn and Scott Taylor. We'll be back from the Nilles Law Firm studio after this break. Wherever you are going, however you are getting there, we hope you get there safely. Take your time, or maybe just stay home until it warms up. What that might be April at this point. So you are again listening to a hockey show, which is appropriate on a night when it's freezing cold. We should be out in the outdoor rink playing a little hockey. This is Game On Hockey with Scott Taylor and Travis Dunn each and every Thursday. Make sure to stay tuned after for Jacksonville versus the New York Jets NFL football action here on the mighty 790 KFGO. But with that, Scott's got a little message to share about golf. What is that golf message, Scott?
It's time to play golf inside. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, it is.
You play golf indoors now.
Yep.
And of course, when the winter has come, the Golf Center has a complete line of
Complete.
golf simulators and hitting mats, nets, and training aids in stock to help your game. Garmin R10, Bushnell Launch Pro, and SkyTrack can help you keep your swing in its groove all winter long. Looking for the perfect Christmas gift for the golfer in your life? The Golf Center can help. They have a full inventory of bags, FootJoy golf shoes, golf balls, as well as clothing to look great on the course. Listen, hey, you know this. Even Santa shops at the Golf Center.
I've heard that.
Give guys a call or stop by the Golf Center, 3001 South Columbia Road in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Call them at 701-775-0019. Merry Christmas from the Golf Center.
And Merry Christmas from the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. And our guest, as well, it's kind of been a bit of a trend, but Gordy Tummelson joins us one more time. Go ahead, Scott.
You have news coming in from Pilot Mound. You have a new GM. Is that what I'm hearing? New assistant GM?
Yeah, we're not going to be able to announce that quite yet. The new general manager starting January 1st. We're going to announce that right after the 1st. However, she's been announced. It's a she. She's a former Pilot Mound resident, etc. So that's kind of the lead in, but I'll hold off on naming the lady. But it's a really great hire, and we're looking forward to a whole new direction in terms of the administration of the organization, the planning, all that kind of good stuff that was sort of beyond the group that was in there prior, and that's fine. It's a big step, and it's a great step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so too. We often have Noelle Needham on the show, of course, from Sioux Falls, who's the associate GM of the Chicago Steel, the USHL. There are more and more females getting involved at the hockey operations level, not just public relations or marketing. It's at the hockey operations level, and that's a nice progressive move for Pilot Mound.
It sure is. Yeah, we're looking forward to establishing and getting a little bit better foundation in the organization. Recruitment's the key thing. We keep talking about that. We talk about that here every week, and that's priority number one going into the next chunk of the season. So besides playing games, it's recruitment.
So tell us, are you working on it? Are you getting new goalies? What are you doing these days?
Well, we're looking at goalies all the time. Of course, we go on some of the sites that are available to look at kids that are looking for other places to play. We're looking for anybody that wants to get into play more hockey than they maybe already are doing. Twice a week may be good where you are now, maybe, but 5 times a week or 6 times a week, playing in front of crowds in Dallas, Minnesota, Minneapolis, all through Western Canada, Detroit. Those are opportunities that we offer to young girls and guys, 14 to 18 years old. And we hope that some of the kids out there in the Fargo land are listening.
The shocker for me about Pilot Mound, and I have to admit, this is only for the last couple of years that you and I have been talking regularly, is I always thought Pilot Mound might have played 30 or 40 games a season. You play 70, 65, 70, 80 games a year. This is an NHL schedule.
Oh, it's a huge schedule. I mean, they're playing games, they're traveling, they're seeing places they'd never ever see. They go drive through the mountains, they do all that kind of stuff. Kids from Canada go to say Dallas and Minneapolis. Well, that's a big bit of news for us. We've got kids from Nunavut playing for us this year, and Nunavut's not right around the corner, and they're seeing things. I mean, they don't get to the big city very often, and it's been a real whirlwind for them. So for anybody that's coming here, it's the hockey's really interesting and big time, and a lot of games, a lot of practices, and a lot of good coaching. So yeah, it's wonderful.
And then if they want to find more information, they can go online and get it at what?
Yeah, pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com. Nice and simple. That's at pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com.
Well, we wish you all the best of the Christmas season, all the best of the New Year. We'll be talking to you again next Thursday, probably. As we have 1 minute left in this wonderful show we get to do each and every week. We sure appreciate jumping on board, Gordy. Have safe travels wherever that might be. Stay warm. We know that might be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Stay safe. It's worthwhile to. Thanks.
Yeah, I got that right.
Merry Christmas. And by the way, great story on diversity at Pilot Mound Hockey Academy right here in the brand new issue of Game On Hockey.
GameOn.ca if you want to see that online. Well, we have to wrap this one up. Last 30 seconds, Scott. A lot of fun. Nick Mikan, great announcement. St. Thomas, the relative nature of sports and how important it is to us. We cover all the bases, don't we?
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the point, isn't it? Christmas is coming. We got to cover them all. Remember Golf Center for your golf needs. Remember Jarrell's for your hockey needs. Don't the REA. Make sure you get your Hawk stuff.
From Game On Hockey, this is the Nilith Law Firm studio. This has been Game On Hockey with Travis Dunn and Scott Taylor. Merry Christmas.
All right. You are clear, Scott. Thanks for another fun show.